Thank you, Tamara. Kim's story, isn't it ironic? Isn't it ironic, Kim's story? It's like rain on your wedding day. It's like the free ride after you've already paid. Isn't it ironic, don't you think? Madam Toastmaster, honored guests, fellow Toastmasters, right about now you're probably thinking a couple things. First of all, is Kim crazy? The answer, my mom can attest to, is yes. She's got to own it. The other question that you may be asking is, what does Alanis Morissette have to do with service and leadership? Well, my question to you is, think about the leaders that you know, the leaders that you've heard of, the leaders that you've interacted with. What are the adjectives that describe a leader? Anybody want to offer up suggestions? What describes a leader?
A model.
A model. What else?
Mentor.
A mentor. Great. What else?
Entertaining.
Entertaining. Sometimes. Anything else?
Vision.
Vision. Love it. I talked about that last time. So we've got vision, we've got model. For myself, I grew up thinking of the leader as being the person in charge. Now let me ask you this. Think about the people that you know that are servants. What comes to mind when you think of the word servant? Humility. What else?
Obedience.
Caring, obedience. Great.
Dedication.
Dedication. Industry. I like it. So these words that we've used for leadership, are they synonyms for those words that we used for servant? Not always, right? When I'm thinking about the leader who's the guy in charge, for me, that was never the person that was the servant, the humble servant. And this is the title of my speech. Isn't it ironic? This idea of the servant leader is something that I'm awful at. I am so ridiculously narcissistic, it's not even funny. All of those ribbons that I get when I come to Toastmasters meetings, I still have cards from my kindergarten teachers saying, good job. I don't remember what I did that was good in kindergarten, but I did it well, and I've got a card for it, and I swear to you right now, I still have it. When I think about leadership, it was never about being a servant. And that's why I'm so fascinated by this idea. The more that I study success and the more that I study leadership, the more that I realize maybe it's not all that ironic after all. You can look at your first slide on your handout. You should have a front and back handout. We had some issues with the projector. Why Toastmasters? What does service and leadership have to do with Toastmasters? Well, here we've got this quote from Dr. Schwartz in The Magic of Thinking Big, talking about how important being a part of a group that teaches public speaking is, and even promoting Toastmasters in particular. It's important to feel at ease talking with people and to people. If you look at the one below that, Zig Ziglar from his book, See You at the Top, also goes into how important it is to build confidence through public speaking, and specifically mentioned Toastmasters and Toastmistress, which dates it a little bit. This is why Toastmasters is such a great place to talk about service and leadership. The whole point of Toastmasters is to help people build confidence. And people like Zig Ziglar and the author of The Magic of Thinking Big, these great books on success, talk about how important these characteristics are. When you're a part of Toastmasters, then you get to help other people build confidence, become better people. A year ago, I joined Toastmasters in December, a little over a year ago. And at that time, I was much more overweight than I am right now. I also was getting beaten down at my job every single day, and was starting to realize that the person that I was engaged to also wasn't as nice as I thought he was. I was getting constantly criticized. I was a good public speaker when I joined Toastmasters. I joined Toastmasters to become a better public speaker, but it wasn't the only reason. I wanted to become a leader, but I also wanted my confidence back. And so I stand before you a little over a year later, and I am a different woman than I was when I joined. The people in this room that were Toastmasters during that time, the people in this room who gave me evaluations, the people who were the timer, and yes, even the odd counter, all helped me to build that confidence that I once had but had been lacking for a certain period of time. So if you turn over, if you look at the back, on slide 4, talks about effective leaders. What are some of those things that effective leaders do? Talks about providing a clear direction, fostering collaboration, and helping to motivate others. Well, John Maxwell is one of the, I guess, gurus of leadership. He has a book titled 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Since leadership isn't something that I consider myself to be an expert on, I like referring to people that know a whole lot more than myself. He says, if you think about some of the people who have won the Nobel Peace Prize, for example, Albert Schweitzer, Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, and Bishop Desmond Tutu, you see leaders who were less interested in their position and more interested in their positive impact on others. If you read their writings, or more important, study their lives, you notice that they wanted to make things better for others, to add value to people's lives. They didn't set out to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. They desired to engage in noble service to their fellow human beings. A servant's mindset pervades their thinking. He continues by saying, the bottom line in leadership isn't how far we advance, but how far we advance others. So those are some of the qualities of what makes a leader. If you look at the next slide, talking about team leaders. What are some of the things that team leaders do? What's the difference between a leader and a team leader? John Maxwell continues to say, when you add value to people, you lift them up, help them advance, make them a part of something bigger than themselves, and assist them in becoming who they were made to be. Often, their leader is the only person able to help them to do those things. Dale Carnegie, in How to Win Friends and Influence People, says, I consider, so he's actually talking about Charles Schwab. I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among my people the greatest asset I possess. And the way to develop the best that is in a person is by appreciation and encouragement. Well, if you listen to what we do in evaluations, what are we doing? We give evaluations of speakers, and we also evaluate the meeting as a whole because we are constantly striving to get better. And that's what a team does, and that's what team leaders do. We, here in this room, we encourage others through our service, through our evaluations, and we make sure that we help each other to get better and build up that confidence at the same time that we are improving. Dale Carnegie also says, I'm talking about a new way of life. Talk about changing people. If you and I will inspire the people with whom we come in contact to a realization of the hidden treasures they possess, we can do far more than change people. We can literally transform them. This is what team leaders do. They help bring out the best in other people. So a leader isn't someone who orders other people to do things. A leader is someone who inspires and brings out the best in other people, and then helps them to be better in the process. So if you look at the next slide, talking about the benefits of teams. Here in this room, think about everything that had to happen to make tonight's meeting possible. A huge thank you to our chair, Eileen. A huge thank you to our Toastmaster, Holly. A huge thank you to every person in this room that has a role and every person that brought all the good food tonight, because that's really all I care about. I encourage you, give more, get more. From Zig Ziglar's See You at the Top. I like stories. Feed others and you will eat well yourself. A man was given a tour of both heaven and hell so he could intelligently select his final destination. The devil was given first chance, so he started the prospect with a tour of hell. The first glance was a surprising one because all the occupants were seated at a banquet table loaded with every food imaginable, including meat from every corner of the globe, fruits and vegetables, and every delicacy known to man. With justification, the devil pointed out that no one could ask for more. However, when the man looked carefully at the people, he did not find a single smile. There was no music or indication of gaiety generally associated with such a feast. The people at the table looked dull and listless and were literally skin and bones. The tourists noticed that each person had a fork strapped to the left arm and a knife strapped to the right arm. Each had a 4-foot handle, which made it impossible to eat. So with food of every kind at their fingertips, these people were starving. Next stop was heaven, where the tourists saw a scene identical in every respect, save foods, knives, forks, with those 4-foot handles. However, the inhabitants of heaven were laughing, singing, and having a great time. The tourist was puzzled for a moment. He wondered how conditions could be so similar and yet produce such different results. The people in hell were starving and miserable, while the people in heaven were well-fed and happy. Then he saw the answer. Each person in hell had been trying to feed himself. A knife and a fork with a 4-foot handle made this impossible. Each person in heaven was feeding the one across the table from him and was being fed by the one sitting on the opposite side. By helping one another, they help themselves. Give more, get more. Zig Ziglar says, what you sow, you reap. What you give, you get. Give more, get more. Robert Kiyosaki in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, says, if I could leave one single idea with you, it is that idea. Whenever you feel short or in need of something, give what you want first and it will come back in buckets. That is true for money, a smile, love, friendship. I heard a saying years ago that went, God does not need to receive, but humans need to give. Give more, get more. Tonight, by doing this speech, I'm going to receive my ALB, my Advanced Leader Bronze Award. But I couldn't do it on my own. Toastmasters doesn't happen in a bubble. And what I love about Toastmasters is the more that you grow in leadership, the more you grow in service. If you're a leader in Toastmasters, then that means that you are serving more people. So I'll leave you with this question.